called gradient and intercepts. Now, one thing we need to know is that gradients mean slope, okay? So when we say gradient, we actually mean slope. So what is the gradient of this? Like hill, it wants to know what's the slope like. Is it steep? Is it flat? Is it all sorts of things? So gradient is slope. And that's one of the main things that I've got here. The gradient is slope. Okay, so understand that gradient is slope. Okay, let's look at the learning goal. Be able to recognize if the slope gradient is positive, negative, and quickly say where the y-intercepts is. So we're going to look at that and see how we go. Success criteria, we looked at the first one. Recognize that positive slope goes from low to high, negative slope goes from high to low, and if the line is flat, there is no slope, so the gradient is 0. Okay, so you must write that in as well. Okay, let's go. All right, positive or negative. Now, according to the success criteria, it says that it would be positive if it goes from low to high. This one goes from low to high, and I like to remember it as like a tick, and so this one is positive. Or you can write positive, okay? Now, this one here at the bottom is flat, so it's got 0 gradient. What's another word for gradient? Slope. I'm going to look at this one last. This one, it almost reminds me of a cross. You've got a tick and then you've got a cross coming down. So it's negative, okay? So it's got negative gradient. Negative gradient or slope, isn't it? So it's negative. This one is like a cliff. It's a bit crazy, so it's undefined. We can't define this cliff, so undefined, okay? So positive or negative, so if it goes from lowest to highest, it's positive. If it goes from highest to lowest, it's negative. If it's flat, it's got 0 gradient. And if it's a cliff, well, that's just crazy, so it's undefined. All right, let's graph these points. So we're going to look at 1, 0. So we're going to crawl to 1, and we climb nowhere. So there it is. Remember that this is x and this is y. And this is x and this is y. X, y. So we've got to climb to 5. I'll do it in highlighter. We've got to crawl to 5, and we've got to climb to 4. So let's look at that there. Now I'm going to draw a straight line between them. That's something that the question didn't say. Okay. I'm going to draw it a bit better. I need to draw this on freehand, so I need to. All right, so that's our line. Okay, so is it positive or is it negative? It looks like almost a tick, so it's going to be positive. Gradient. Okay. Now let's look at the next one. I'm going to choose a different color. Remember, this is x and this is y. This is x and this is y. So x goes to -3 and it climbs down to -2. So let's do a cross there. The next one, it crawls to 5 and it climbs to 3. And we got that there. Now I'm going to connect them up with a line. So let's connect them up with a line. And it's like a tick as well. It's a bit like a shallower tick. So let's do, it's like a tick. So it's also positive, okay? Positive gradient. All right. Now, if I had I'll do a negative one just quickly. If I had a point here and then a point there and I connected there, see how it goes from highest to lowest, so that would be negative. But both of these actually are positive. Okay, next example, and it goes, we're going to use these table values. Well, what's going to happen is that I'm going to do these quickly, fill them in the way we did them last lesson, and then we're going to look at them at the end. And this one doesn't fit on the Cartesian plane, but I've got enough points, so now I'm just going to connect them up properly. I can't connect them up properly, it seems like. Use a ruler, and there is my graph. Now, is this line positive or negative? Does it look like a tick like that, or does it look like a cross? And many of you are saying cross, so there we go, negative gradient. What's another word for gradient? Slope. Negative gradient. All right, let's draw this one. So it's going up by 1, and this coefficient is actually 1x, so that's why, and it's a positive 1x, so just be aware of that. I'm going to quickly graph it. And I'm going to do this there. Let me try to do a straighter line than what we have. Okay, so that's our graph there. Now, is it positive or is it negative? Is it a tick or is it a cross? It's a tick, so it is positive. Gradient. Okay, so it's a positive gradient. So hopefully you can realize what it is. Anyway, that's the end of this lesson. Peace out.